We all think we have skills when it comes to driving, but I can guarantee today's guest could teach you a thing or two on the road or track, whether it be in a car or on a bike. Caroline Park has broken barriers in the world of motorsport to become a respected instructor in both cars and bikes, and a powerful brand ambassador with 750,000 Instagram followers. Welcome to the Performance Car Lounge, Caroline. So, Caroline, I thought I'd start with finding out how you first became interested in riding bikes and driving cars, and which one came first?
Actually, go-kart came first. Everyone loves one of these Japanese animations since we're young, right? Okay,
Yes.
okay, let me ask you a question. What's the most memorable Japanese animation from your side?
Oh, Initial D.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most inspiration animation that gave me a lot of like dreams. And because of that animation, it got me into the cars a lot. Yeah. And I got my first car as GTR 32 back in Vancouver.
Oh, okay. So we'll get to that later because I'm quite fascinated by that GTR. So you started out in go-karts. Was that something that you decided you wanted to do, or did you have a dad or a mum who thought they'd like to see what
Um,
you were like in a go-kart?
no, actually, I was there as an international student, so I didn't have anyone else, no siblings there. But me and my friends went to the outdoor go-karting, and yeah, it just got me into this go-karting thing a lot. And these go-karts are really direct, right?
Yeah.
And had a lot of fun, makes me do a lot of like movements. It's just made me into cars a lot.
Did you start racing go-karts against other kids?
Yes, I did since I was 16. Yeah, I think I was pretty late
Yeah.
compared to the other racer, but yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you were racing go-karts. Were you racing in a series, and how did you go?
It wasn't a serious series because back then I didn't have any friends or people who knows much about this racing scene, but I just had a chance to go with my friends' parents
Yeah.
to enjoy some, go-karts and racing cars. And that was it. And then after the graduation, I went back to Korea and had some chance to participate in one of these race, rally, actually. That's how I started with the racing scene.
What type
Yeah.
of car were you driving? Was it a car in the rally that you were competing in?
It's nothing like everyone is think of. It's one of these Tuscany, one of Hyundai's old car,
I think I
Tuscany.
do. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a generation before the Genesis Coupe. And yeah, they made this car into the rally car, the off-road car. So they had this series. I got invited to the race. And yeah, as a first time, I did pretty okay. I started from the back because I came late. But I finished like fourth or something, as far as I remember.
That's
Yeah.
a very impressive result for a first timer.
Yeah.
Was it then that you realized that you have a special talent for driving? And was that the moment that you decided there might be a future in motorsport for you?
Yes, that was the moment for sure. And I thought, I think I'm very fearless somehow, like compared to the other girls. And I just wanted to fight, not like physical fight, but, the racing scene. I just love it. And yeah, that's how I was falling in love with motorsports, I guess.
What was the next step from there? What did you start racing next?
And then I got sponsored by, Grady, right?
Yes.
It's not Grady, but in Korea they have this, what is it? What do you call it?
Like the distributor?
A
Oh,
distributor, yeah.
yeah.
And they have their own racing team, Grady. And yeah, I've been racing with this SUV cars, racing on a track was quite challenging for me because since the car is big, right? And it's a diesel and had a lot of problem with the car every time. And yeah, that's how I started.
And how did your parents respond to you racing cars? Were they very encouraging?
Asian parents. Still now, they don't really accept or they don't really think my career as a really good one at all.
It's interesting. I spent a little bit of time in South Korea last year, and
Oh yeah.
the motorsport scene and the automotive scene, I didn't get the impression that society in general thought that was a good
Hmm.
thing to be doing. They sort of felt like they were outcasts in some respects. Would you agree with that?
I definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the motorsports scene in Korea is slowly growing for sure. But in Australia, in Japan, you know how it's like, right? So still need more time to, go reach that level, I guess.
I think there's some really encouraging signs, though, in Korea with a lot of motorsport events gaining more popularity. And it definitely seems like Hyundai are pushing a lot more interesting cars into the market
True.
and promoting motorsport a lot more. So hopefully there's a bright future for motorsport in South Korea.
I hope so. Well, I know that you are one of this influencer for the Hyundai N, right?
Yeah, so I have to say good stuff. Yes.
Well, I love Hyundai. And yeah, I think since the N series came out, things are getting a bit like different somehow. But this Korean culture in motorsports scene is not really big as you saw, right? And personally, I think they are spending more time or spending their money outside the country, but not much in Korea yet in
Okay.
motorsports. Yeah. So hopefully, like you said, well, it's a good start. Hopefully they do something more events like, the N Festival, like kind of thing in the
Yeah.
future.
I don't
Inviting people like you.
Yeah, look, I don't know if you know this, but in Australia we have a grassroots racing series where the competitors race Hyundai XLs. Are you familiar with the XL car?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
a very cheap car to buy
Mhm.
and race. So I'm surprised that that sort of thing's not happening in Korea as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised too.
You obviously you did start relatively late at 16, which, if you look at most other motorsport competitors, they're in a cart at 5 years of age or 6 years of age. So you obviously have an inbuilt talent for driving and riding. When did you move on to motorcycles and how did you experience a motorbike for the first time?
Oh, my first time. That was as soon as I came back to Korea. That was around when I was like 20, 19, 20. Yeah, 20. Yeah.
You were 20 years old the first time you rode a motorbike.
Yes. I first bike was Ninja 400, the old one. And after a month later, I feel like this is too easy for me to handle. And I jump into 600. And then a month later, I got into a really big crash and I totaled the bike. Well, it's not my fault. The car, one of this, the garbage truck made U-turn illegally and hit my bike and my bike got totaled. And from that point, I jumped into 1,000, CBR 1,000. But after owning that 1,000 CBR, 1 year later, I got my Hayabusa. Since then, I've been known as a Hayabusa girl in Korea.
From riding a bike the first time you're 20, and I can tell that you're not that much older than 20 now, in that short period of time,
Thank you.
in that short period of time, you've become an instructor on motorbikes as well as cars. How did the instructing work come about?
Okay, so I need to explain this first. I decided to become an instructor, driving instructor, after I did the 12-hour endurance race with RWB. Have you watched the video from the YouTube that we did from the Motegi race track?
No, I'll have to check it out. I am familiar with the RWB cars, and actually, the podcast I did prior to this one was
Mm-hmm.
with the Porsche Club president of Queensland here in Australia, and he
Oh.
has currently a 997 that he is having converted to an RWB very soon. So
Oh,
have been,
okay.
yeah, looking at the RWBs a little bit.
Okay, so you might see one of this video that we did, 12-hour endurance race. And I've been participating in this race for a couple years. Just made me think, like, you know, the whole point of doing endurance race is teamwork, right?
Yes.
Sometimes I have a like better driver or like my teammates who gives me tips to, you know, do some tricks and stuff, right? And after something triggered me since then, wanted to become an instructor. And I got my chance to work for Hyundai first when I was 25. Since then, I tried to train myself and, you know, part of Hyundai instructor before and just made me have this opportunity to be one of this Porsche instructor for a couple months. And then AMG hired me.
I imagine when Hyundai took you on as an instructor, were you the only female instructor that they had?
There were quite few more, like two others, but we were in a different, we were from the different brands. Me, Hyundai, the other one worked for Ford, and the other one worked for, as far as I remember, Jaguar or something.
Was being an instructor for Porsche and for Mercedes-Benz AMG and Hyundai and Ford, all of those companies, was that like a dream come true for you?
It was quite dream come true, and I was really proud of myself being part of it. Well, I'm female, right? I struggled a lot till now just because I'm a female.
What sort of challenges did you come across because you are female?
It's same as the racing scene, I guess. Less opportunity. Once you got married and have a kids, less opportunity. It's Asia, right? And only because I could survive from this industry was I can speak English. Because yeah, because sometimes we have VIP foreigner customer coming, and yeah, that made me survive, I guess.
Yeah. Was that something that you were aiming to do, or was it something that sort of just presented itself as an opportunity and you decided to take it from there?
Just love like teaching people, I think, at the track. And it's really fun to meet all these new people, like sharing the experiences together. And yeah, I just love being an instructor, I guess. Makes me really happy.
You are so much braver than me. I can imagine nothing worse than sitting in the passenger seat of a fast car with someone who I don't know. Have you had any scary experiences as an instructor?
I did, because I used to train one of this the Hyundai who works at the factory, the what do you call it, the lab, and they had to test something on the car, and we are the instructor supposed to be sitting next to them at the track, and they are fearless. Trust me, they are fearless, and they don't even know how to make time properly, but they just do it. And I, I, this person almost crashed into the wall.
Oh, which track was that at?
The Yangwang, you know, KIC, the F1 track in Korea.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'd love to see Korea get the Formula One back at
Oh, me too. Would
that
love
track.
to.
So luckily you didn't hit the wall. So that's not too bad if that's the worst experience you've ever had.
Yeah, so far I think I'm okay because I heard other instructors experience telling me they got into really serious crash and they injured their legs or somewhere like broke their lips or something. Just
Yeah.
hearing that makes me yeah scared.
When you're instructing men, have you had any funny reactions when you've been instructing men when they find out that their instructor for the day is a female?
Um, you know, it's Asia, maybe from other country as well. Um, this experience from one of my Ducati events back in the days. So this is not the car event, the bike event. Guys are like, "Oh, I'm very small, okay?" So sometimes guys are like, "Oh, can you even touch the knee on the ground?" kind of thing, right? Yeah, they usually look down on female instructor, I guess. And I was like, you know, touching the knee is the easiest part that you can do at the track. Is getting faster is really more difficult, I guess. And this customer used to race on the just, you know, the street, and he has this ego. Oh, I think I can beat you kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, he was in my group and he couldn't even keep it up with me.
By the end of the day, did his
Mhm.
attitude change? Was he able to?
Yeah, he did. After that first session, he came up to me and like, wow, I am so sorry, Caroline, kind of thing.
Well, that's good. At least he recognized the errors of his ways. What would you say the biggest differences are between men and women when you're instructing them in how they take instruction and what they like to teach?
For guys are very aggressive and maybe less fearless, like, mm, how do you say? They're fearless. Guys are usually fearless. So I usually tell them to go smooth on their movements with the acceleration or the, let's say, gas or the brake and stuff. For the girls, they are more precise with everything, even handling, even on the bike, very precise, but they have too much fear.
I'm certainly not got the level of talent that an instructor has, but I have been instructed a few times, and
Mhm.
I've spoken with instructors and asked them what the differences are between men and women as well. And quite often, they've said to me that they prefer teaching females because they listen to what they're being told and they do what they're told, whereas
Mhm.
quite often men come in with a preconceived idea and that of what they have to do, and they think they know what to do,
Mhm.
and then that makes men a little bit harder to teach. Would you agree with that?
True. I definitely agree with that. Yeah, I'm down to that answer.
Yeah.
Even some guys who are newbie, let's say, who doesn't really have any ideas of driving or riding, they usually take the advice quite well and try to, follow up the things that I gave him. But yeah, some people who has, like maybe once like or twice experience from the track, they have that ego or like they think they know what to do and people usually Google nowadays it's easy to Google things on a YouTube and look for the answers, right? Which is
Yeah.
not always true.
Do
Yeah.
you find that helps though? You know, if they're doing their first track day and they
Mhm.
have done some research, they've watched some YouTube videos about perhaps being smooth, what a racing line should look like. Does that help them in real life, or do you find that that doesn't really help?
I definitely think it helps a lot. Like you do the simulated thing, right? It helps you a lot with studying the layout of the track. So I think it's very helpful.
Are you seeing more females coming through to be instructed? Are you seeing more and more females interested in racing and driving on the track?
To be honest, nowadays I see a lot of girls coming into this track days, but becoming an instructor is quite challenging, I think. And then yeah, they want to be an instructor, but it's really difficult for girls to have that life, I guess, because I'm having that life being an instructor. You always have this risk getting into the crash, right? If you have family, kids, or let's say it's usually they are pretty, right? They don't want to have like scars all over their body, right?
Yeah.
So, which means they can't push themselves to the limit, I guess.
Do you find that sometimes if they're not committing out on the track, they're not pushing to the limit, that that actually might make it a little bit more dangerous? Like if they're not fully committed to a corner, I'm talking about bikes now.
Mm.
Would that affect the safety aspect of it? Would that make it more likely that they could have a crash if they're not fully committed?
Well, everyone has this fear of getting into the crash, even for me as well. So that 1% of, worrying about getting into the crash will make you a bit like slow down, I guess. Unless you are racing, I don't think people fully push themselves to their limit, I guess. But becoming a certified instructor is quite challenging. Even for me, took me 2, 3 days to get certified.
Is that a mix of obviously on track driving, but there'd be a lot of classroom theory and how to deal with people, I imagine, as well, because everybody's different. And I imagine you would have to have some very good people skills in order to deal with the different personalities that get in your car
True.
or bike.
True. Well, my chief instructor telling us is being fast racer is not a good instructor. You need that skills to communicate with the customer. And, being instructor means you have to be the ambassador of the brand, right? So you have to know the product and you have to, give a right information to the customer as well. So I think you have to have this everything combined together. Skills, maybe 30%, 30% of the brand knowledge and skill, well, things like that. So, yeah.
If you were speaking to a 5 or 6 year old girl who wanted to get into motorsport today, what would be your advice to her?
If I have a daughter, mm, let's say if I have a daughter, right? I will tell her to start with small bike, like dirt bike or go-kart, who knows, right? If she loves it, I will just let her try.
And
Yeah.
as far as dealing with some of the barriers that you had to deal with coming through motorsport, what would your advice be there? Is there anything in particular that you would say to a young girl heading into the world of motorsport?
Well, you have to try. If you don't, you never know, right? If I have a chance, I would just take her to the site where things going on, like let's say the off-road site with other kids are doing it and showing them, oh, they can do it. Why not? Why not you? I was just trying to show them, you like encourage them to, you can like anyone can do it kind of thing, right?
You mentioned earlier that you have an R32 GTR. Can you tell us the story behind that car and how you came to own that?
Like I said, I got my first car when I was 15, which was illegal, but I was lucky enough to have that car in Vancouver. And yeah, that was my very first car. I owned that for 4 years in Vancouver and sold it and came back to Korea. I got the same car, same R32. And till now, I almost 16 years, I'm owning the same car right now so far.
So your first car that you ever owned was an R32 GTR, and then
Yes,
you came back to South Korea and you bought another
another
R32
one.
GTR, and I imagine that must be an extremely rare car in that country.
It is. Well, I think it's everywhere, right?
We do see a few of them in Australia, but during my time in South Korea, I didn't see many cars, to be honest, that weren't.
The old JDMs, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, true, true. I think it's getting the number of the classic the JDM vehicle is decreasing for sure.
Yeah.
Some cars got totaled, so the numbers get decreased. And yeah, some people don't really take out the car, but usually at the garage to waiting for their parts, I guess. It takes months to get the parts.
Which is fun
So
because it's really just a short boat ride away to Japan. You should be able to get the parts very easily.
for one thing, Japan and Korea are really close, so people usually expect that we have more opportunity or easier to get the parts, but it's not. Since the car is old, finding a proper OEM parts is almost not like impossible. Or even finding the aftermarket parts is expensive. So yeah.
Are you finding that as the car's getting older, you're needing to spend more money on parts and breakdowns and that type of thing?
Yes, but back in the days when I first got my R32 in Korea, it was fully tuned and it wasn't really reliable. So I had to convert the car back to stock and makes everything, smoother and reliable. And of course, some, the cables and stuff got like locked, so I need to change it, right? So apart from that, car is reliable when it's stock, I guess.
And what bike are you riding these days?
Right now, currently in Thailand, I mostly ride Ducati Pulse Smart, the classic one.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
If money was no object and you had to choose two cars, you had a two-car garage, it could be a bike and a car. What would you choose to meet the needs of your life?
Okay, that's really difficult. If it's it, either car or bike, right? Just two.
You can choose, you can have two cars, two bikes, a car and a bike.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then for the car, R32, of course, and the other one should be Porsche, classic Porsche 911T.
Yeah, good choice. No bikes. It's interesting that you.
Well, no, no, no. I have bike. Well, you said two cars and two bikes, right?
Oh, okay,
Or
okay. Well, let's do that. Two cars and yeah.
sorry, I'm very greedy. Okay, for the bike, Ducati Panigale Repo S and Paul Smart.
Oh, okay. So you pretty much have your dream halfway to your dream garage now.
Yes.
What are you currently working on today?
These days, I'm still considering writing contract with, well, extending my contract with Insta360 so far. Because I've been working with them for past 5, 6 years, and I honestly got really good offer from DJI. So I'm on the middle of making decision right now. Once everything is settled down, I probably go for making contents.
Anybody who hasn't seen Caroline's content, I'll flash her Instagram handle up on the screen now and check it out. It's a brilliant Instagram profile. 750,000 people can't be wrong. So you're choosing between there. And are you still working as a Ducati instructor?
Maybe this year I might just be part of the influencer this year
Yeah.
because I have good deals coming out with Insta360 or DJI. So I need to focus on myself to work on this content creating thing. Not too sure with Ducati instructor, but AMG, yes.
The content creation side of things, I wouldn't say that I am one of those. I've had a very small exposure to it. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time.
True. You have to spend your time, right? You have to spare your time to go out and make contents and come back with the, seeing all this result. If it goes wrong, you have to go out again, do it again, right?
And a lot
Yeah.
of planning. A lot of planning goes into it.
True.
Not as fun as it looks.
People think that I'm having a really nice, the perfect life, but behind it's not really. It's not that fancy as people see through my Instagram.
Yeah, not as glamorous as it seems. And I imagine even being a driving instructor for Mercedes AMG, for example, to me that sounds like a very glamorous job. But I guess it's, appearances aren't what it really is like. And I guess it's not all of the time either. It's only, sometimes that you're doing that work.
True. Like, this social media thing is just all about showing, right? And people just see it and they take it as what it is on a social media, and they don't really know how much effort people put it in to become that person. Me, I put a lot of effort as well to be who I am right now. And I'm trying to make this path to, breaking all this. Let's say I might be the very first Asian girl who got sponsored by our Pinesta headquarters, like full costume suit.
Yes.
So I already broke that rule, right? So maybe in the future, some other girls who has more talent than me will have that chance again, right?
Yeah. Look, I think that you've made it easier for any girls coming through. I'm not sure that they will have more talent than you, given how late you started. It still blows my mind how late you started and how far you've come.
Yeah.
Is there any role models or heroes that have guided you along the way?
From the motorsport scene, there is one person. His name is Han. Not the Han from the Fast and Furious, but his English name is Han.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a really old good friend of mine, and still he's the only person that I can trust mostly back in Korea. And he helped me a lot when I was in a really darkest time, and he guided me really well to the right path.
That's great to hear. You're very lucky to have someone like that in your life to to lean on when you need to.
True.
And what's next for you? What does the future look like, or what would you like to achieve in the remainder of your career?
I personally want to do more extreme sports, like skydiving kind of thing, right? Well, not that I'm saying that I'm a content creator, but it's in my dream, one of my targets that I want to achieve that, the skydiver instructor certification. I heard it's really difficult and I need to spend a lot of time to participate in one of these classes and spend a lot of money for sure. So yeah, later in the future, that's one of my targets that I really want to work on.
Oh my God, your poor parents. So, so maybe am I right in thinking that we could see in future, you might have a YouTube channel where you're doing a lot of adventurous things, riding bikes, cars, jumping out of planes, and recording it all on a Insta360 or a DJI or something like that?
True. Yeah, I'm already looking forward to make, those contents already by using, to be honest, I want to use DJI drones and maybe 360 from Insta360 will make a really good synergy out of it for sure.
I'll certainly be watching your adventures with great interest. You've achieved so much in a relatively short time, and I think the barriers that you've broken is inspirational, especially for any young females out there who are looking to get into motorsport. So I've really enjoyed our chat today. Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
time,
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
and I wish you all the best with the future. Thanks for tuning in. Check out Caroline Park's Instagram profile at CarolineP8528 or head to performancecarlounge.com.au for podcast and YouTube links.